Welcome back, folks. This is Sprues and Studs, and today we are going to be reviewing another boy in blue, which is the Primaris Company Champion. And what's more badass than a character that can actually engage in other enemy characters and fight first on the tabletop? I think this action figure is going to prove to be a really awesome one. So you know what? Without further ado, let's jump right into the review. Alrighty, ahead we have the shiny new Primaris Company Champion. So let's get to it. Unboxing, unwrapping, unveiling. Ta-da! All right, folks, we have unveiled the Company Champion, and let's see what this guy is made of. Starting with the Mastercrafted Power Sword. Let's take a look at the Power Sword over here. And again, in true JoyToy fashion, we have the semi-abrupt change from the light silver to the dark silver over here. There usually is like almost like a gradient in between. Well, actually, this is typical of what JoyToy has been putting out these days. Take a look at the other side, and it's more or less the same thing. You get these electric power nodes that are very well airbrushed, and there is enough distinct blue color to make it stand out from the gray that's underneath, which is good. But I would like to see this a little bit more prominent in the next few action figures. Then regards to the hilt area, you do get to see some brass bleed onto the dark gray. Let's see if that's the case on the other side. Nope, it's actually not that bad on the other side. Then taking a look at the shading, it looks fairly even between the eye sockets on this side as well as this side, although I would like to have seen some shading here where the nostrils are, but overall not that bad. Then when you're looking at the handle, it looks a little bit messy over here, mainly because the shading isn't very even in this area. So you got dark shading over here, and then it gradually is kind of lighter over here, and this is a little bit more messy over here as well. So dark shading over here, no shading whatsoever in this area. And then you do get to see some brass bleed onto the red, although it's not that bad. Let's take a look at the heavy bolt pistol. And the heavy bolt pistol doesn't actually seem to have that many issues from what I can tell. I'll have to take that back. So you do see some silver bleed onto the black over here. Same thing over here. There's a pretty prominent mold line right in the middle over here. Actually, I don't think it is a mold line. It looks like they combined the two halves together. But painting wise, this is actually not too bad. You get the nice weathering over here effect, so it doesn't look like it's just completely silver. It appears that perhaps the silver isn't as prominent up here than what it is down here. So I guess it would have been nice if this was a little bit more even, and you can actually tell that. So looking here, it's a pretty prominent silver, and then it's very, very sparse up here. And you get this area where the black is actually more than the silver. This particular section should be entirely silver. So this heavy bolt pistol is not without its issues. However, it's not that bad compared to what we've seen in the past from JoyToy. So looking at the holster, it's okay, I would have to say. The purity seal has some white onto red bleed over here. And then you've got some shading going on over here, which actually is not too bad, in my opinion. You do get to see some silver onto brown bleed, and then the highlighting is what I seem to be is dry brushed over here, and it's not very prominent in some areas. So in this area, it's kind of light, especially back here. There's no highlights whatsoever. Let's take a look at the unholstered version over here. And the unholstered version is more or less the same. It's got this messy dry brushed highlight up here, over here, and then it gets kind of missed over here. And you can see a bunch of dry brushing over here as well. Now moving on to the backpack, and then you have like a light scratch over here, not that much of a big deal. You do have a prominent shading going on. That's the case with all 2.0 figures. You do also have this nice weathering effect over here, like a nice dark gunmetal color. I really like this, and I think I've commented on this before in prior videos. So the issue usually with regards to this backpack is this area. You actually never can get good coverage of the silver onto the blue. And same thing with this side. It seems to be an ongoing issue for JoyToy when they manufacture these backpacks, especially for the 2.0. But overall, this is actually not that bad. Moving on to the meat and potatoes is obviously the company champion. And let's see what we have for the company champion. As usual, we will start off with reviewing the head. So I really like this brass color, and it's typical for all company champions and veterans to have this, especially if you're an Ultramarine. I'm looking at the lenses and it looks really nice, as if there is depth to it. So what JoyToy did was, I'm going to guess that they had this undercoat of this brass color and then had this translucent red coat over it, which gives us, again, more depth, and I really like this. The skull up here has some nice shading up here, and the shading probably got missed over here with the nostrils. Then if you look back on the lenses again, on this side is pretty clean. However, on this side, there is slight bleed from the red onto the bronze portion or the copper portion, whatever you want to call it. Then looking at the garland, I can point out to you that the green did not cover this part enough. So this should be green in my opinion. And this part should be green as well. You have some highlights that you can see over here. That's this light green over this dark green. Not exactly too sure what happened to this action figure up here. Seems like a mold line or some sort. There's another mold line over here as well. So let's move on with the pauldrons. JoyToy never seems to get it right. This area is actually not as colored as much as I would like it to be. This should be more of a brass colored, but you can see the blue actually poking out over here, and it's actually more prominent over here as well. If you look here, the brass color did not cover up any of this area. And as usual with the pauldron, it is fairly crisp and fairly clean on this area. You got some painting issues over here. Not exactly too sure what's up with this part. Paint flakes, and then again, more of those issues that I highlighted over here. You have the nice Omega for the Ultramarines. And then actually, this is pretty insane that you can actually see and read exactly what is printed over here. But there is actually a more prominent one on the knee, so let's go back to it later. All right, let's see the Imperialis chest piece. And you can see a lot of shading going on over here in between the feathers, which is nice. There is actually no bleed issues whatsoever, because I think this is probably a separate piece that they painted and then they glued on afterwards. So this is nice and clean. And then looking at the loincloth area, you get some shading going on over here, although this part is more prominently shaded than over here. I would like to see if this is a little bit more even, but overall, not too bad. Then looking at the iconography over here as well, you see this medallion and there is some shading. All over this side, the shading is not as prominent in this eye socket versus the other one. But it's a very small piece and kind of forgettable. You can probably cover it up like that. Just like Sidonicus, this has another lantern type of thing. And again, as I pointed out with the Sidonicus review, you get to see some turquoise bleed onto the brass over here. And this actually happens all four sides of it. And this actually looks kind of dirty to me in my opinion. I wish that this was a little bit more clear, because you would want to see the lantern to be a lot less dirty than this. And turning this around, let's take a look at the markings. And this is, again, crisp and clean. I like it a lot. Looking at the pouches back here, you get more or less the same as these holsters. You have some uneven highlighting or dry brushing up here, and it is kind of messy in my opinion. Over here, over here, over here. Okay, let's take a look at the knee area. This shading on the skull is not too bad. You do get to see some brass bleed onto the blue. Looks a little bit uneven. There's some areas in which the brass needs to cover the blue. This is one of those areas as well. All right, let's see what this says on the knee. His battered unit have different squad marking. All have lost brothers to Tyranid invader during the defense of Baal. For those of you who actually are keeping up with the lore, did the Ultramarines actually help the Blood Angels when the Tyranids invaded Baal? Please verify. I'm curious to see if that's actually true or not. Now let's talk about articulation. Articulation with the head, 360 as usual. Around the shoulders, 360. And then there's a ratcheting mechanism to help the various poses. Around the elbow joint, it is 90 degrees. There's a joint that further helps with more movement right here. And then around the wrist is 360 degrees. Then with the knees, it is a little bit more than 90 degrees over here. And you can kick the legs out up here. And then it gets rather blocked by the loincloth over here. So there's slight limitation of movement because of that, but this is very movable and very opposable. There is some rotation around the ankle area as I pop it off. As you can see over here, kind of did that on accident, but at least you get to see the internals. And then with the toe, you get to do this for, again, stability during posing. As usual, we will kit out the company champion, starting with the backpack. Backpack goes in very easily like this. And then with the right arm, we're going to put the heavy bolt pistol. And it is equipped like so. And then with the left hand, we're going to equip the master-crafted power sword. And then finally, as this company champion is wielding his heavy bolt pistol, I'm going to put the unholstered version right here, like so. And there we go. We have kitted out the company champion. Now, the nice thing about these 2.0 figures is that it comes with a few separate other hands. You got the fist of power over here that can swap out, the open hand of domination, and the go kill them. And finally, you can swap out the right hand that wields the heavy bolt pistol so it can wield the master-crafted power sword. All right, folks, that's a review. Let me wrap it up in my final thoughts. All right, folks, what do I think of this action figure? Is it worth the money or not? Yes, I think it is worth the money. These version 2.0 figures are pretty awesome in the fact that it has more posability. I will definitely be doing a 1.0 versus 2.0 comparison very, very soon. With regards to the action figure itself, this company champion is pretty badass in my opinion. I really do like the different iconography that's on him, especially the lantern over here, as well as this cool, unique Imperialis sign, as well as the garland is a really nice touch. While there are some painting issues as usual, they are not as prominent as they used to be in the 1.0 figures, so I think JoyToy definitely did improve with their quality assurance. So let me know what you think of this action figure in the comments section. Is it a must-buy for you? Is it a, maybe I'll have to sit on this for a little bit? Or it's like, nah, definitely a hard pass. I would like to know what you think. So this is Sprues and Studs. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all again in the next one.